Hello there, comic book fans. Back from the comic shop this week, another Wednesday, instead of my usual Thursday. And I got 7 comics this week, plus 3 surprises, which were really surprises to me, too. So, can't wait to show you them, too. But first, we'll start out with Rumble, issue number 10. I must say, this comic has settled into being a really nice comic that I enjoy. I look forward to every month. It started out kind of epic with these old monsters and mythic tales, and settled into being sort of this very small human, despite Rathrak being one of the people or monsters who hangs out with them, and they, are kind of going through their adventures with all these old other sort of mystical creatures who really aren't bothering humans. Like I said, I really enjoyed the Halloween issue. I really enjoyed, they've done some good, the last few issues have been smaller, done in one, but linked together stories, and this book's really come together nicely, and it's one of my favorites now, Rumble, issue number 10. And the second comic for this week is Erik Larsen's The Savage, or just Savage Dragon, no the. I was just writing this down and wondering if there was a the there or not. There isn't. Erik Larsen's Savage Dragon 210. Nice little comedy cover here. They're on their honeymoon. After last issue they got married. Pretty good wedding issue. Wasn't a big disaster. Boom! Always big fight scenes, double page spreads in Savage Dragon. Some nice stuff. Erik Larsen really, he has a fun time with his Savage Dragon world, and he does a nice job of it. What I really like, another, here, we don't want to spoil too much. What I really enjoy about his work is his sheer enthusiasm for the comic book medium. It really shows through in his work. You could just tell he's a guy who loves making comic books, so he makes comic books. And that's what I appreciate most about the Savage Dragon. And next we have Spawn 259, another Erik Larsen book. This time Erik Larsen and Todd McFarlane. This looks like a pure Todd McFarlane cover since it's got just his signature on it. And I find it interesting that this is part 1, Satan Saga Wars, because they both took over this book with last issue. So it's funny that I guess that was sort of an epilogue, prologue. And now the story actually starts with part 1. Plot, look how it's credited. Erik Larsen, plot, script, layouts, pencils, and inks. So I think they're switching back and forth, kind of doing whatever they want to do. The last issue was pretty much a big old battle scene where Spawn declares war on the devil and goes down to get him. It was fun. It was a battle scene for the entire issue, so it was a fun issue. We'll see what they do with it now, because I'm sure they won't do a battle scene for the entire issue every issue, but that's a pretty neat cover. I haven't... So this is the first time I've been collecting Spawn regularly, ever. So, with Erik Larsen's enthusiasm for comics, I look forward to seeing what he has to offer this. And next we have East of West, number 23. I just noticed this is a completely black, white, and gray cover. I don't think I'd noticed that before. I hadn't really looked at it. But, let's see if we skip the white page. Last issue of East of West was a little weird. It was kind of all a done-in-one about an assassination attempt that we kind of all knew was doomed to fail. But it was well done, well-told story, if a bit odd in that it didn't really move. It wasn't really a... I guess issue 23 would be a caper story, because it didn't move the plot forward any. It wasn't really character-driven, but it was a complete story about this assassination attempt. But anyway, we'll see what issue 23 brings us. I enjoy this series. It's a mix of characters and intrigue. And Shootin' War started a few issues ago. That's which I haven't gotten back to since the couple issues it started. But we'll see where the big old Shootin' War goes. We'll see where the politicking goes. We'll see where these crazy characters go. East of West 23. Good comic. And next comes Lazarus number 21. I've been very, very much enjoying this series lately. I'd have to say this series has gotten better and better as it's gone on. The shooting war has started in this series too. You can see him walking around with guns. That's kind of Forever's purpose, to be a warrior. So, and there's all sorts of politicking going on behind the scenes in this too. But this is kind of much less fantasy driven than East of West. This is a little more science fiction-y, but a little more realism in it. But like I said, I have to say, this was kind of a middle-of-the-pack book for me when it first started out. I enjoyed it, middle-of-the-pack of books I bought, not any book I buy, I obviously like. But it has moved up to the top of the pack with its last 10 or so issues. I think it's just improved a whole lot, and it's a really good book. So check out Lazarus, number 21. And next comes Ragnarok by Walt Simonson, Laura Martin, and John Workman. That's Walt on writing and art, Laura Martin on colors, and John Workman on letters. And this is actually lettered right on the board. It's not computer lettering. This is old school comic lettering. There's Thor after the Twilight of the Gods when everybody dies. I'm very much enjoying this one. This is issue 7, which is the beginning of the second story arc. You can get the first story arc in trade and some such. This is the first Walt Simonson regular stuff I've read in a long, long time, because he's mainly done work for DC Comics, I think, in the recent decades even. And that's, I've not been reading a ton of that stuff. I've read a little of his stuff over the years, but haven't been buying a regular series by him in ages. And this is a really good one. Story of his own version of the Norse gods and Thor after Ragnarok, the Twilight of the Gods, hits, and he's still alive somehow, even though all the other gods are dead, and he's trying to figure out what the heck happened and what the heck is going on. Good story, excellent artwork, check it out. And the final comic book is Rat Queens, number 14. Now, I know last month I was talking about dropping this because I didn't like the $3.99 cover price, but then I liked the issue so much. I still don't like the $3.99 cover price, but the art is so nice, and I really enjoyed the issue, so I was like, you know what, it'll stay on. And Tech Jacket, which I was also talking about dropping with look at that nice little drawing, a couple weeks ago. Turns out Tech Jacket is canceled. It's no more, so I don't have to drop it because they're not making any more. The artists involved have gone on to greener pastures. I forget who was even doing Tech Jacket, but it was a solid book, but not great. I wasn't a huge fan of the final story arc in Tech Jacket, but overall it was decent. And it was a $2.99 book, so it stuck on the list, just being decent. But Rat Queens will stick on there at $3.99 for a while more. And let's see what else. Invincible is on hiatus until April, and there's one other comic I bought within the last couple weeks that is on hiatus until April. So there was no reason to drop Rat Queens, especially since I really liked the last issue. Okay, now let me show you the surprise stuff. First surprise is the drummer from Planetary. There's the Planetary logo. This is a friend of mine just gave me this for Christmas. He was saying, he's a comic book fan too, and he was saying, what's the most obscure action figure I can find? And he found the drummer, who is a character from the Planetary. Look at how yellow that plastic has got. I'm going to break this out of the case anyway, and that yellow will get thrown in the recycling, because I'm not a keep it in the box kind of guy. I wonder if, is that just sunlight that turned that so yellow? Must be. Look how yellow that is against the white back there. But anyway, very nice present from him. I was looking for a new action. I don't collect a lot of action figures, but I have a few around, and I usually keep one on my drawing table, which hasn't had a big one. I've had some of those little mini mates on my drawing table for a while. I haven't had a big one like this in a while, so it's got a spot all ready for him, for the drummer. Look at that quizzical expression. Next we have Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Monopoly Connect Collector's Edition. Now, Roy, who owns the local comic shop, he just gave this to me. He was like, are you a Jay and Silent Bob fan? Do you want some swag? So I guess they sent it to him for some reason, or he had it lying around the shop. I'm not sure which, but he was like, "If it's yours if you want it." I was like, "All right." I'm not a huge Monopoly fan, but my sister is, and she'll play it. And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is fun, so I decided, what the heck? Since they're giving it away, I'll take a Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back Monopoly edition. There's Jay and Silent Bob. And let me show you one more thing. Right now, check this out. It's gigantic. It'll get its own video sooner or later, but it's the gallery edition, which is what Dark Horse calls its artist edition. Stan Sakai Usagi Yojimbo. It is 250 pages thick too, so it's big, and it's a whole bunch of Usagi Yojimbo stories. I wasn't gonna get this, but he had it lying around the shop, and he was like, "Listen, for some reason he got 3 of these, one for him, I think. He got 2 extra of them, and he knows he's never going to sell them. That this isn't something that just goes. I mean, this is a $125 book, but he gave it to me for $50, which was $25 below his cost. And then he knows it wasn't in my budget right now. He's like, "Listen, just pay me $5 a week till it's paid off." I was like, I can't refuse that. Money is tight right now, but I can afford $5 a week for 10 weeks or something. Until this is, I just couldn't. Getting an Usagi Yojimbo artist / gallery edition for $50 is not something that comes up that often. But I figured I had to jump on it, and I'll get the money out of it in the budget for it in the next couple of months, and we'll pay it right off. And finally, we'll give you a little look at my background artwork. These are 2 things I did recently. Yet another Painted Lady in ice blue cover. That's Painted Lady number 11. She's got sort of your pensive face looking at you, with swirlies on her chest and all sorts of markings on her body. Did that one just a couple of days ago. Though I penciled it weeks ago, I just inked it a couple on the 28th. And ice blue is one. Once again, this is my blue ink that I'm working in rather than black ink. 7th one in that series. Just my faux comic book cover series. And I like that blue ink. I'm going to have to do a few in the red ink too. So there we go. A little op art, tattoo, and a little silhouette blue ink. Okay. Maybe those are the names. But anyway, you guys have a good time out there, and we will catch you later.